Oh, there we go. Might have been a little choppy because we're trying something new for some of us, new for most of you, and only new for some of us. We're trying out a panel discussion amongst a total. It's going to be a total of one, two, three, four, five, six of us on a five screen setup, guys. Today is a special. It's a special show about. It's for podcasters about podcasting. So today we're going to talk about the struggles of being a podcaster. For those of you that know me, I'm Timothy B, also known as Just B Speaks. I'm a motivational speaker, a podcast host, talk show host, whatever you want to call it. I'm pretty new at this, so I'm sure that there's multiple people that is new as well. So today we're going to have a discussion about some things that we all struggle with at different times of our podcasting careers, our podcasting journeys. So let me go ahead and start introducing all of my good friends here. I'm going to start with my number one buddy. Even though I love all of you guys, I just happened to talk to Robert a little longer. Hey,
Hey, how
Robert,
you
what's
doing?
up, buddy?
I'm
Pretty
living.
good. Hey, man, let's go ahead and start. Just tell them a little bit about yourself, and we're going to bring everybody else on.
Oh, a little bit about me. I'm a guy that does not like to be still very long. I do quite a few podcasts. I have a film company, run a Comic Con, I run a film festival, and I am completely down to help anybody do anything. So I'm that guy.
Yeah, yeah. What's the name of your main podcast?
The main one is called the Movie Madhouse.
The movie Madhouse, guys. Make sure you go and check that out. At the end of this particular panel discussion, I'm going to post every last person's social media links, podcast links, so you guys can go and check it out and we can all support each other and have some podcast love going around. Next up, we have the young and beautiful Georgia Talk.
Hey, hey, good people. How
Hey,
are
hey,
you?
hey. How you doing, sweetheart?
I'm fine.
Sweet. I'm glad to have you on. Of course, you already met Robert Bellamy here. So let's start
Yep.
off with you telling us a little bit about yourself, the name of your podcast, and all that good stuff, and then we're gonna keep it going.
Well, alrighty. My name is Georgia. I'm the owner of Georgia's Talk, and I've been podcasting for about 2 months, and it's very fun and interesting. And I'm gonna keep doing it. It's an adventure. Let's see what
Nice,
else.
nice, nice. Well, new or not, hey, I'm new too. So we're newbies on here, but we're definitely glad to have you on the show. Thank you. Next up, we got my man Scott Curtis.
Hey
Hey,
Tim,
hey. What's up, Scott? How's it going?
I'm well. I'm glad you had me on. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem, man. Go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself, the name of your podcast, sir.
First off, the podcast is called Behind the Bits, and it's where I talk with stand-up comics serious about stand-up comedy. And the reason why I started it is I started doing comedy at age 50, and today I turned 56, and I decided I wanted to get with all the comics. Thank you, all the comics that I know, and all the comics that I don't know, and find out what's up with stand-up comedy. So I started that late last year, and when I started that, I ended a podcast that I had been doing for about 5 years prior, which was a local podcast. It was called Michiana People. I'm in northern Indiana, so we call our area Michiana. So I had been podcasting for a while, but this is my first time of using my studio for remote guests. It's almost all remote because I talk to people from all over.
Nice, nice. That's a beautiful thing, man. And that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
much exactly what I do as well. I have yet to I did my very first interview in person. So I feel your pain.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have a great discussion. And again, everybody, go and follow Robert, go and follow Georgia, go and follow Scott. And next up, we got my man, Joey.
Yeah, what up? What up? It's Joe Audio right here representing Yeah About That, the podcast. I'm one half of
Yeah,
Yeah
yeah.
About That. My bro Paco couldn't be here. He was going to try to get here, but just couldn't, get down here. So, Yeah About That's the name of the podcast. Been doing this for about almost 2 years now. As far as my brother started it out back in 2017, kind of like a long form interview format where he was just interviewing family members and friends and just kind of just just having fun with it. He's naturally a comedic kind of guy, so it was always funny.
Yeah.
Then I started going on the podcast with him in like 2018, where we started doing comedic skits. So we just kind of make a random improv type skits for about a year.
Nice.
It was really hard to keep that going, so we kind of changed up the format in like end of 2019, and now we do like album reviews. It's kind of like our main thing, and then we'll throw in some food reviews here and there.
Nice, man. That's awesome, man. Make sure you guys go and follow Joey's podcast as well. Support all of my fellow podcasters here. This is what we do. This is one of our passions. This is what we make sure we have a time and a date available to do podcasting. So again, guys, feel free to comment whenever you choose to. You can say whatever, as long as you're being respectful. Uplifting is the most important thing when you're on the Just Be Show, because our main focus is people on the rise and be better than yesterday. So guys and girls, of course, if you guys watch me before on the Just Be Show, I do a series of questions. So today we have about 6 to 7 questions, and it's just things that I seen trending on the No Rule podcast group that we're all a part of. And so I'm gonna ask you guys these questions. We'll all give our feedback on it, and hopefully we can help some of our fellow podcasters. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Let's do
get
it.
to it.
Let's get to it. The first question. Let's see. All right, here it comes. What is the hardest thing about podcasting for you? Scott, let's start with you.
I think it's the work. So the interview part is great, and meeting new people is great, but it's all of the editing, social media, posting, getting the podcast ready, all that stuff. So we all know if you talk with an hour with somebody, you're going to put at least 6 hours behind it. And that's really the hard part for me.
Gotcha, man. I can definitely relate to you there. I met a few people and they were like, "Oh, that's easy, man. You just turn on your camera and flip on your mic, throw in your headphones and go." And I was like, "Yo, it's way more to it."
Yeah,
way more to it. Georgia, go ahead. What's the hardest thing about podcasting for you?
Well, I would say starting and finding a niche. I mean, it's like choosing the right podcasting outlet, and like what to do, where to go. Am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? Are people gonna like this? People gonna like that? Oh, you just all over the place, and your head just start hurting.
Yeah. It almost makes you indecisive.
Right. And some of the material that you find, and you like, okay, I'm gonna do this, but then you be like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. And then like 2 or 3 days later, you be like, somebody else did it. You like, man, I know that was good, but you should have just went with your first mind.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. But you know what? The best part about it is you got started. So congratulations to you getting started. So Joe, you like Joe or Joey?
Joe Audio. That's what I go by. So Joe Audio.
Joe Audio, brother. What's the hardest part about podcasting for you?
Consistency, like week in, week out. However often you plan your podcast to be, released, to make sure you meet that deadline, and to just do the same thing each and every week, whether it be editing, having to get a guest, coming up with content, whatever the case might be, just doing it consistently. Because the times that we've slacked off, maybe missed a week or whatever the case might be, then the numbers start dipping. If you keep that consistent flow going, then it just gradually starts building up. But just staying consistent and doing it week after week, that's the hardest part.
Yeah,
it's
man.
like a job.
I agree.
Really,
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree on that.
Yeah, I agree too. I definitely agree with you there, man. Because you know what, I run multiple companies, so to have to sit here for a couple of hours to get a lot of the graphics and the overlays and the banners and everything, and then figure out quality questions and sit here for a while, it's a pain in my ass, man. Up to you, Robert. Tell me, man, you a vet in this, man. What's the hardest part for you?
Actually, it's a mix of both of them, because one of them is scheduling, because I do 3 different podcasts, and 2 of them are scheduled and 1 is not. And the
Gotcha.
third one is just kind of as we get them, we put them out so they could come at any point. But the other two are weekly. And then the biggest thing was be research. With the movie Madhouse, it's just a bunch of people talking. We'll have guests on and we talk, and that's it. There's no prepping for that. Honest to God, there's no editing for that. We just play the raw audio. So it's a beautiful thing. Bits Radio, though, because I'm dealing with Canadian filmmakers, I need to know a little bit of their background. Right. And then the most intimidating one was when I started the Vicious Circle. I don't know if you're familiar with wrestling at all, but I do a podcast with Sid Vicious. And when you sit down with him, you need your research 100%.
Wow.
The man can break you with his pinky.
That's not good. That's not good.
Get it wrong. So that is the hardest part for me.
Okay.
Sweet. It seemed like all of us pretty much have the same struggles, and I'm pretty sure you guys in the audience, and then even if you're not watching now, when you do watch, I'm definitely positive that a lot of you are going to be relate. But don't worry, just keep going, continue to be persistent, try not to be indecisive, get the scheduling on point, make sure you have the planning prepared, write it down, figure it out, and I think we'll all continue to shine, and we're sure that you guys will shine too. All right, guys, thanks for all your answers on that one. Next is, what is the biggest letdown that you've had so far when it comes to your podcast? Anybody, go ahead.
People.
What about people?
I mean, like, not watching the content. You like, okay, I put it out there. Okay, you need to watch it. You need to listen. You need to focus. Share.
Yeah. I definitely understand you there.
I feel like with my
Scott, go ahead, Scott.
With mine, I'm doing comedy interviews, and a lot of the comics don't know me. So I get a lot of folks that either give me a hard no, or they don't even reply to me. And it's really funny because I get higher profile comics that will actually come on the show. And then I get the mid-level people just totally ignore me. So, it's disappointing because a few of these folks I really want, and I really want to talk to them. And I've had some of the top people on, so they should be able to look at my list and say, well, it's not a bad podcast, but for whatever reason, they just don't even reply. And I feel like that's really a letdown for me, because that always makes you feel self-conscious and feel like you're not doing a good job or whatever. But what you got to do is just keep going. And I wanted to talk to Robert a little bit about his research thing. I feel like if somebody is a guest on the podcast, I do need to do the proper research, because I don't want to go in cold and say, oh, what kind of comic are you? So I look up YouTube videos, I look up anything they've written. A lot of them are also authors and screenwriters and stuff like that. So I have to come into it prepared, and that's more time. So that's time before the podcast and time after, getting it all ready.
And that's
man,
that's where I get it, because with Bits Radio, it's independent filmmakers, so it's so hard to get that information on these people, because they may only have done one film prior to that. So it's exactly it.
Yeah,
definitely.
What about you? Go ahead, Joe Audio.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just scheduling guests to be on the show. The biggest letdown is like when they just aren't there. Like you hit them up, earlier in the day, maybe you schedule in the afternoon or whenever it's scheduled, and all of a sudden they ghost you and like, what's going on? Or then they'll hit you up like right before you're about to start recording and be like, oh, I can't make it. Can we reschedule? So it's like, man, we already have this all rolling, and all of a sudden you're just not going to do it. There's times when we've done that where they cancel, and we're like, okay, we're still doing the show, and we just record it without them. Maybe still talk about the same subjects, but definitely just get guests that flake on you would be the biggest letdown.
Yeah, man, I would have to agree with all four of you as well. I've had a few people. It's crazy because I started off with, more of the, I don't want to say low level, but not the people that's been doing their craft as long. They haven't reached like the celebrity level, or they're still chasing their dreams. They're still pursuing success.
You know
and
what? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt. So I'm so sorry. I was just gonna say, I think the biggest letdown for me on this is the legitimacy. People taking this as a legitimate form. And that's where you run into the problem with the interviews, is because people are going, "Oh, you're going to interview me? Oh, you're a podcast." Nah, I don't know. And that's because it's so saturated and it's not consistent. Like, you have people like us that we get the good audio, we get everything clean, but you'll have people that'll take their phone, sit down in a room, and that's all you can hear is background noise. And they put that up as a podcast. So it kind of delegitimizes what we do.
Yeah, I definitely. Sure. I would have to agree, man. Well, like I was saying, and it's okay that you interrupt me, man. We're talking.
Just interrupt.
One thing I want to pop in there that really disappointed me. I've always been a big supporter of the local music scene around here, and with my local podcast that I ran previously, I supported the heck out of all these folks and bought all their albums. I made sure that people got to their shows. I made sure that people got on shows that they were supposed to get on. And when I walked away from that, did my comedy podcast, they won't share an episode to save their life. And I'm like, all I want is a little bit of love back from what I gave you. And
exactly.
And you know what? It's all back on us. We got to do it. We got to do it ourselves, because nobody's going to help us. And it's disappointing, but it's a reality.
Yeah. But what you were saying, Robert, as far as the legitimacy, like, it's like they don't take it serious. What I found out was when I originally had this podcast and I was talking about controversial topics it's not an issue. Nobody wanted to be on it. Like, nobody. I couldn't find anybody for the first week or two that I had the podcast. But then when I switched it and made it a platform where it's advertising what people do, then everybody wanted to be on it.
Yeah.
So I noticed that if you don't cater to what their way of life is or whatever it is, it's almost like they don't support. And that sucks. Because this is real. This is a real form of communication. This is real life. People really make money. That it can become a true and honest career. So again, thanks you guys for answering all of those. That was awesome, man. And again, everybody that's watching, please feel free to comment. We're here to answer any suggestion. We have from newbies all the way to us, the vets like my man Robert here. I think he's been doing it the longest out of everybody.
I don't know.
So the next question is, guys. Go ahead, Robert.
I was just curious because Scott said he had a podcast for 5 years before. So when did you start podcasting?
True. Well, you said you've been 8 years. I would say total, I've probably been 6.
Okay, so we're very close. Yeah.
Whew, that's a long time, man. We need to, George. I mean, you got to catch up.
We will. Don't worry. We right behind them.
Right. So one of my big questions, guys, was, and Robert, me and you talked about this shortly. Is video podcasting worth it?
If you want, I'll jump in on this one first. I honestly think they accent each other. You can do one, you can do the other, but if you can do a little of both, it only makes it better. Like, all of the podcasts that I do are audio, but we also do live streaming events, which is the video portion of it. The only hard part you have mixing the two is not every platform launches video. I know the company that I use called Libsyn, they're an audio podcasting company. That's literally all they do is host audio podcasts. So me doing video, I never could unless I completely changed platforms. But if you mix the two, not only do you get video and audio likers, you also have different platforms playing it. So you expand your audience that much more.
And I've also noticed people doing them both at the same time. And then they put, they do one for the podcast and then they do one for YouTube. And they, but one is audio, the other one is video. And they just been doing it like that for years. And they got a better success on YouTube than the podcast.
Yeah. Me personally, I get better success doing podcasting like this, doing video interviews. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I think I checked last week. I think I had like 58 downloads, and it's been 48 days. I don't know how good that is. I'm not really big on the audio, but my videos, my numbers are tremendous.
Well, I reached 1,000 a few days ago.
All right.
See, honestly, for that, well, congratulations. I think for that, it depends on your topic.
Go ahead, Robert.
Right? It depends on your topic, and it depends on what your base is. When we do the movie Madhouse, we have like 70 or 80 downloads a week. Okay, which is not bad for that because it's just a bunch of guys talking. The Vicious Circle, when we do that, it's not uncommon to have almost 12 or 1,300 in the first couple of days, but that's because it's Sid Vicious. Everybody and their brother wants to listen to it.
Yeah.
And
Gotcha.
it's easier to watch your YouTube counts than it is your audio download counts.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because half of the
I agree.
or half of the people that listen to I Know Bits Radio, because it's like a 20-minute show, they listen to it while they work out. So boom, they pop in the earphones, they do their workout, and they listen to it. So for them, video would not work ever.
Right.
That's why it's nice to have that mix. My opinion.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, I would definitely say it kind of depends on it depends on your audience and what your your podcast is about. Like I said, we have food reviews, and just to see the visual like reaction to certain things, that's always like helps. Like I said, my brother's a pretty comedic guy, so like while we're recording, he'll just do random like little like throw up West Side or something, and just like I don't know, just do like crazy little just visual things that he always does while we're recording. So the audio, you don't get that. I mean, it's still funny to listen to, but when you see it visually, like it just adds another element, like kind of makes it a deeper type of I guess feeling for the podcast. So I think it's worth it. It is a little more work because I have Libsyn also, so that's where our podcast is primarily at. It's all audio. But when we record the video, I have to upload it to YouTube, so that's another upload time. So I just it's more time with the podcast and editing the video, making sure the lighting, making sure everything is good. That takes time as well. So it's another I guess another element of your setup, your consistent everything you have to do. It just doubles your work almost in a sense. So it is worth it, but you just have to get through it.
Yeah, I agree, man. Because when I was doing video and when I was doing the audio as well as the video, freaking my 6-hour days would turn into 10-hour days quick. Really quick. What about you, Scott? What's your opinion?
Well, my opinion has changed twice since I started this podcast. So I started audio only, and then I thought I needed to get with the times. I'm obviously the oldest person in the room right now, but I felt like I needed to get with the times and do video. So I would live stream on both Facebook and YouTube the interview. But I find myself worrying about audio, worrying about video, and if somebody's quality isn't that great, I'm worrying about it's gonna be at the end of it. So I feel like I'm not in the moment when I'm talking to people when I do that. So that's not good for either one of us. So I'm actually thinking about moving to a format where I do a rapid round with my guests. So I do like a 10-minute live stream that goes to YouTube and Facebook, and then I quit that completely and just do the audio, so that when I'm talking to somebody, I give them my full attention. So that's my personal struggles, and I know that some of that is because of my age and my ADD and all that other kind of stuff, but I feel like I'm giving my guest a better experience if I'm totally concentrating just on the conversation.
Awesome. Hey man, that sounds like not a bad idea. That I feel like if you do that, the rapid like that, it'll bring, because they'll be all interested in it, in the video, like, oh man, this is awesome. This is some good content. And it cuts off. Then they have to go listen to the audio.
Yeah.
That's a nice hook.
Actually, I might just have to consider that one.
I'll let you know how it goes. I'm going to start it next week.
Yeah, please do. That'll be awesome, man. Like, and again, guys, before we move on to the next 3 questions, I just want to say thanks again for coming on the show. Whomever is watching, thank you for being an audience. Hopefully you're learning something. I'm learning a lot already. I'm sure we've all, if anything, we're learning about each other and our own struggles of a podcaster. Guys, again, thanks for coming on the show. I freaking love you guys so much. Let's keep it moving on. So my next question is, and I struggled with this a lot. I still struggle with it a lot too. But what kind of marketing strategies have worked best for you? Let's start with you, Scott.
2 things have worked well, and this has been throughout the whole time I've done podcasting. Us getting together is huge because podcasters supporting other podcasters and just mentioning it on their show, talking to their friends about it. Word of mouth is huge as far as podcasting goes because you get true fans that way. One of the marketing principles they talk about is getting 1,000 true fans. And when you work your way to that, then everything compounds because those fans tell other people, and it just works. And that's the way it works for like indie musicians. They want to get those 1,000 true fans. So working together with other podcasters, not necessarily in the same genre. So we all do different subject matter, but I'm a horror movie buff, so I could totally get with Robert. So that those types of things where you can actually give a recommendation is huge. Now I'll tell you where I failed. Facebook ads have never yielded much for me. Google ads have yielded. So when I'm running one right now, and while the ad is running, I actually run it and then I pause it and I look at my stats, and when I run it, I tend to get about 20 to 30% more downloads than I do when I'm not running it. And I'm putting them directly to my website, so I also see from my website the stats of people who are visiting and where they're from. So that's been really good for me. And I'm also trying to get myself as a guest on other podcasts like yours, just so I can get the word out too.
Nice, man. Well, this is definitely the spot to get it out, man, because this podcast is literally to show what everybody does. I'm more than well. I love supporting people 100%. Even as a motivational speaker, it's all about uplifting others. It's people on the rise like us, and I'll shout out every single person's podcast, and I'm gonna post all of you guys' links, like every link you sent me. It'll be on here so that because I may not be, I feel like I'm the starting point. Let me just say it like that. I'm the start point. If there's a new podcaster that's coming out, come to the Just Be show. I'm going to let you speak your truth, tell all about it. And that's what my whole entire show is about. It's never about myself. It's about everybody else. For a long time, I made it about me. Now it's time to make it about you guys, and you guys are out there so we can all kill it together. Go ahead, Joe Audio.
So yeah, I mean, definitely cross promotion always helps. Just talking to other podcasters, and not necessarily just podcasters, but anyone doing something and primarily for us, it's entertainment. So like, one thing I didn't mention before, back in say 2003 to around 2008, me and my brother, we did we called it online radio, but it was a podcast in that sense. We didn't know it at that time just because it was before the whole podcast trend. We would do interviews with a lot of artists, so a lot of hip hop artists primarily. We would actually just play music. So we'd pick like maybe 10 songs or however much time it would take to fill up an hour. And then we would kind of talk about the artists in between songs, almost like a radio station. We kind of just played whatever music we wanted to play. And then by interviewing these artists and promoting them, kind of like you were saying, putting them up front, having everyone check out them, it kind of put us in the forefront with them because everyone's going to find out about their favorite artists, hear what they have to say in an interview, and then because it's on our podcast or our show, they go there. So we got a lot of positive feedback when we used to do that. A lot more than we're doing right now, but it's it's different times. But because the market's so saturated, like back then, again, we were doing the podcast before we knew what a podcast was, and so that we had a lot of like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people checking it out. Now, I mean, we're lucky if we can get a few hundred, sometimes. So it's like, it's just the market's so saturated. That's one of the I guess the harder parts now of making yourself stand out now as opposed to what it was back then. But right now, just cross promoting. When we do our album, our cover art for the podcast, I mimic like whatever album we're reviewing. So most recently we did Def Leppard, Hysteria album. So I made our cover art for that look like the Def Leppard album, but changed it up with our logo and just so it's like almost a parody of it. So that kind of catches people's eyes, and depending on your favorite artist, if you like that artist, it will just catch your eye and you just kind of check it out, see what it is. A lot of people like music, so music's kind of our thing. That's why we do it that way. And then we tag, we'll tag Def Leppard or whoever we're reviewing that artist, and then people will see it on their timelines because they're tagged, and they kind of come over for that. So just really pushing out other people, like you're saying, I think has been our best strategy, because we reach audiences that we would not have reached if we were just talking to ourselves or promoting us. We're promoting others.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, everything that you just said is my pretty much exact strategy. Like to the T, pretty much. I literally, and people always try to say like, hey, you're trying to gain stardom from everybody else. And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to make sure everybody else gains stardom. Yeah. I know a lot of people. I'm friends with a lot of celebrities. So, and I'm not a celebrity myself. I just know people from different things, different times in life that I've been around, different situations, so that's just how I do it. I don't care if I have 100,000 followers or 10, I'm gonna do it every day. I mean definitely. That. Scott, not Scott, I'm sorry, buddy. Robert, what's been the best strategy for you?
It's been the cross promotion, and it's also been doing things outside of the podcast. I know podcasting takes up a huge amount of time, but like I said, one of the things I also do is run a Comic-Con, and this year would have been our 8th year, but we had to cancel. What we have there is the Movie Madhouse sponsors what we call our podcast lounge. So I don't know where you guys are geographically, but if you're close to Detroit, you guys are invited to our convention. Okay, it's always and what we do is we have what we've dubbed a monster pod. We will have 4 or 5 different podcasters there in our lounge. Like, we have chairs. It's literally a lounge, and we have the mics all set up so everybody can talk at any point. And we'll record a 1-hour show at the Comic-Con. And then what we do is we share that audio with every show. So for 1 week, all the shows from all those podcasts are the same.
Nice.
And
hey, man, that's nice.
And you're introducing more people to these different shows.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for the invite. Hey, and you say it's when and what month?
It's always the last weekend in April, and we're in Chatham, Ontario. It's just an hour from Detroit. We're just over the border.
Nice, man. Thanks for the invite. I'm gonna definitely try to make it next April for sure. That sounds pretty awesome to me, and hopefully I see you guys there as well. Georgia, what's your marketing strategy?
Social media. Like social media,
which
I've
platforms?
learned all of them. Like, I had that list I gave you, I use all of them.
Yeah.
I mean, literally all of them. And it take a lot of time. I might have missed 1 or 2 or something, but that's all I could think of on the top of my head. But I put all my stuff on everything. Just like, and if something pop up and say you don't have this, I'll be like, I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that. So I use social media, and it has helped me. It helps.
Nice. Now I have a quick question for you, Georgia.
Okay.
When you do, because when I first started Just Be Speaks, that's my motivational speaking page. I used to try to post 20 different social media platforms, everything. I was everywhere. I was really on everything, but it was time consuming. So do you individually post, or do you like share amongst, how like Facebook and Instagram is integrated? You can kind of post to one and share to others.
Well, most of them have like a list that you automatically put in there. So once you make a post, it automatically goes there. So you don't really have to do much. So I have 2 of them like that. And then the rest of them, I just gotta manually do it.
Nice. Ooh, good luck with that one. Yeah, when I seen your list, I asked for a short bio. I asked for a short bio, a couple pictures, and your social media links. And she finally emails me last night, guys, and the list is this long. And I was like, oh, this must be a bunch of pictures. And then I'm like, I don't see not one picture at all. but her list is extensive. So yeah, big ups to all of you guys, man. That's pretty awesome. And I'm gonna try to implement a little bit of all of those strategies. Next question. Oh, go ahead.
When you're doing the social media thing, is to really look at what your results are. Like results in one case are how many followers you have, and another case, if you customize your links based on what social media platform you're on. There's different places that can change up your links so you know where it came from. I've always found that one will do better than all of them for me. So when I did my last podcast, Facebook was the one for me. This one, Instagram. I'm getting a lot more play off of Instagram and Twitter. So when you find the one that really works for you, you want to make sure to give that a little bit of extra special attention, because you can build on that a lot quicker than the ones that are just kind of laying stagnant.
Well, I like Facebook and WordPress because, just like you stated, they actually show you like at the time of day, how many people, and they just like break it out. And so that'll give you an idea. Okay, I need to post this time. They like this subject. So it just give you like, okay. So, and it also helped me to pre-schedule, like say right now you can make whatever right now and you can schedule it to put out, sometime tomorrow or what have you. And I learned to do that. So every day I'm learning something. So I think when I stop learning, then that's when I'll be like, next.
Yeah.
But
one thing I'll add to this is don't get discouraged. With the movie Madhouse, we went 3 years, and I swear to God, we had negative listeners. It was that bad. We did it literally for ourselves. But when you think about it, with advertising, back in the day, there was 3 things. There was radio, television, and newspaper. So if you wanted people to find you, that's where you went. Now it is everywhere, like literally everywhere. There are 700 places I can think of off the top of my head to go and look for something. And how do you advertise on all of those? You just can't. So you do what you can, and then do not get discouraged.
That's true. Yeah. That's good advice. That's good advice.
That's great advice, because they're like you said, don't really. And I have to tell myself that all the time, not to get discouraged, because a video that I would think should have 1,000 views in 3 days would have like 26 in a week, and it drives me crazy. And then I'm like, hey, like this was an awesome episode, but it doesn't go anywhere. And then it's the ones that you don't think would do that good that freaking explode.
Yep.
And it drives me insane. But like Robert was saying, just do your best not to get discouraged. It'll happen. There's something for everyone.
And sometimes I find myself reposting it too.
Yeah, that does not hurt at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a question for you, Scott. You mentioned Twitter. So on Twitter, isn't the post limit is only like 2 minutes or something? Whatever, can only be 2 minutes or something?
Yeah.
Do you know the video limit?
Yeah, if I do a video, it's usually a clip. Most of what I'm doing is tagging people who are on the podcast. I look at their the people who follow them, and sometimes I tag them. I look at hashtags, different hashtags to use. Sometimes I'll use something that's going COVID-19 is always a good one to use because it's always going strong. And so I mix things up, but videos I'll usually do a clip. I've made some. I use that Headliner Pro, and I make quick clips of quotes from the people I talk to, and I'll pop that up, and that seems to get a lot of play because really on Twitter, if you get 30 seconds of attention, you're getting a lot. So so that's what I'm looking for is 30 seconds, and that's about all you're going to get.
Well, you might want to
nice.
check out. They got some new features on there too with Twitter.
Okay. What do you know of them off the top?
What
A couple.
kind of stuff are they doing?
Like say for instance, you know how you can put so many words. Well, now you can drop down and add, and you can make it as to be continued. And then like say for instance on this post, and then like an hour or two later, you'd be like, oh, I forgot to add this, and then you can just keep adding to it and keep adding to it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh wow, neat! I didn't know that. Yeah, I haven't even Just Be Show on Twitter at all. But I think I'm gonna do, like Scott was saying, and just do a small clip of the peak of the podcast itself, like the peak of my video, and then post it. And hey, if you want to see the remainder of the video, you want to see the full video, go to YouTube. But Twitter discouraged me with the motivational speaking because for a whole year of posting on Twitter, I only had maybe 101 followers or something stupid like that. Yeah, but it discouraged me. Joe Audio, you got anything to add to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, definitely adding samples like what you guys were talking about, a little sample of your show. So, like, especially with like on Instagram or wherever, like if people have the video that automatically plays on their feed, like if something on your show like catches people's attention, whatever the smallest clip is, and there's they're scrolling by, if that catches their attention, I've found other podcasts because of that. Like I'll be just kind of scrolling, then I see something and hear something like, oh, this is interesting. Let me go check them out. So whatever, like the best like little promo commercials and stuff, that's also kind of at least for me, help me find other podcasts. So I think it works if it's catching my attention.
Gotcha,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I found a lot of podcasts just because they did a really cool social media post, and that drew me in. So if it draws me in, I know it works with other people.
Right. So the headliner definitely matters. Yeah.
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 The title.
Yeah, video or any kind of imagery, I think catches more attention than just words.
Yeah.
100%.
Sweet. All right, guys, let's move it on up. All right. Well, I already know Robert's answer to this one because he's the man on here with 3 separate podcasts. But my question is for everybody, including you, Robert, of course, is it smart to have multiple podcasts? Like, well, give me you guys' take on that. Robert, go ahead. You the man with the 3. Let us know.
If you're a glutton for punishment, absolutely. And I think it can be fun. To me, I'm so sorry. It's my crack. I have a very hard time going 2 or 3 days without doing a podcast or researching a podcast or something. So I have to say this is my addiction. But it's also not having the same topic too. Like I have the podcast, the Movie Madhouse, and that's just talking about pop culture and everything. Bits Radio is about Canadian filmmaking, and then with Sid, it's all about wrestling in his life. So they are very different as well. But
yeah,
I enjoy every single one of them, and I'm trying to get a 4th one in there now. Actually,
You're really gonna be busy,
man. We're not even gonna see him at the event next April. He's gonna be at home podcasting.
He's in his booth. Yeah, you won't talk to him for a year.
I'm telling you, man. Joe Audio, what do you think? You think it's smart to have multiple podcasts?
It really depends on the person. I mean, I think I could I'm doing one right now, but I'm starting to kind of research and get together some ideas of doing a second one, but it just has to be your passion. I mean, as long as it's something you enjoy, then just keep doing it as much as you want. But don't sacrifice quality for quantity, because if you're doing, all these different podcasts and you're having less time to do it, then you may sacrifice quality. Maybe you're not editing as in detail, or you're not researching as much because you have to do something for, the other one. Because once it starts becoming a task and not your passion or your hobby, then it starts to drain you. So it depends on the person, but just make sure if you do more than one that you're in a good place and you really want to do that other one, not just because you're trying to get more views or just trying to do, just trying to do more, unless you really want it,
Joe Audio.
Yeah, well said. Great advice.
I'm going to jump in with one last thing. Remember, my podcasts are audio. So I don't have video graphics. I don't have video editing. I don't have any of that. I'm strictly just audio with video events. So that makes a huge difference.
True.
It does.
True. Scott, go ahead. What do you think?
I've actually had ideas for other podcasts and actually a YouTube thing. The thing is I right before this pandemic, I got really serious about my stand up, and I was really working on it, and I was going to do it and try to get some actual stage time and which I've had, and get paid, do the right stuff to get paid. So I do a lot of writing, and I feel like if I take away from that to start another podcast, then something is going to suffer, just like Joe said. So I think I'm going to hold off for right now. I want to see what happens from this, and if comedy stages open back up, then I probably won't do it. If comedy stages don't open back up, then I'm going to have to do something. So I probably will.
Hey man, come down to Vegas, man. We'll find a way to put you on a stage. You send me that picture. He was like, I was like, that guy has a great personality.
Yeah,
I'd go watch him. Georgia, talk to me.
That's a good question. Like, I've thought of different podcast, but I was like, well, first I got to get this one down first, like get a good rhythm, a good schedule, and maybe in the future I could do another one. So yeah, you can do more than one.
I can see now. Hey, let's give Georgia a great big round of applause, everyone in the audience, and us here on the show. And I'm gonna kind of put you out there a little bit, but this is I do this every day. She was so nervous about being on video, nervous.
Yes,
you took the initial step to start a podcast. You told me you're not really techie, but your kids are. You took the step to start a podcast, and you agreed to come in on the show today on Friday, and now you're doing that as well. So much love to you, baby girl. You did it. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
And you should be proud of yourself for sure.
And now it gave me a little bit of what's that word? Now I feel a little bit of confidence to go and try to do some videos. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, guys.
It wasn't so bad. It wasn't so bad.
Yeah,
I told you got to get on here. Yeah, and the panel members that I picked today, I could tell just from how they were texting me. Everybody was so attentive and on time with everything for the most part. As long as we got it before the start today, which is awesome. And again, I thank all of you guys. And when you have a good crowd, things become easier. It makes you a little bit more comfortable.
Right.
So again, I'm proud of you, and I'm happy you went on here and you did it. Now look, you're ready to go do video. So if you end up with a video podcast, I'm expecting to be on it.
Okay, you will.
But guys, thank you. But we're coming up to the last. Oh yeah, go ahead.
One last thing. If you're gonna do multiple, make sure your schedule matches it. I think and I just thought of this now. I think the only reason I can do 3 different ones is because the schedules are completely different. The movie Madhouse we do every week, so we get together and record it. With Sid, we'll sit down, like I'll go visit him in Arkansas, and we'll record 6 or 7 episodes on a weekend.
That's smart.
Wow.
So it's because it's not topical, like it's all about his life. So it's research. That's it. And then with Bits Radio, during the film festival, I record all these interviews, or if I run into somebody, I record it. So the schedules do not overlap. Like I don't have to try and say, okay, Thursday's the Madhouse, Tuesday is Bits. You know, if your schedules work, it makes it a lot easier.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. All right, guys, we're gonna get down to the nitty-gritty. It's actually the last question of the night. We have about 10 minutes left. I try to keep these things under an hour for the simple fact that I need to be able to load to Instagram, guys, and they only do it for 60 minutes. But again, I definitely appreciate you guys being on here. Like I said, I'm gonna try to do this at least twice a month, just so it can be an educational thing. But I'll always have, of course, I'll have you guys back on anytime you want to be back on the panel. I think 5 is a good number to have on because you get a bunch of different points of views or whatnot, and just continue to be educational to everybody, especially the newcomers, whether you're old, young, whatever, blind, not blind, or whatever. Hey, when we get off of here, talk to Robert. He has a crazy story. Not crazy. It's more of an inspiring story about a blind filmmaker.
He literally emailed me last night.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's awesome. But I have to ask you guys, because this is the Just Be Show, and it's about people on the rise and being better than yesterday, and it's given a platform so that everybody can shine together. I know we all have our own podcast, but I want to know personally, what is your favorite podcast? Anybody can go.
I don't have one. A favorite? No.
Man.
I'm a crime junkie. Like I love the true crime stories, and there is a podcast called Crime Junkies. I adore
Nice.
I've listened to that.
Nice.
Isn't it well done?
Yep.
I haven't heard it. I'm gonna definitely go check
Me
it out.
either. I'm gonna check that
Let
one
me
out
see.
too.
Crime Junkies.
Yeah, that's
Joe Audio. What's your favorite, buddy?
Oh, man, it's kind of hard. Like I have a top 3, and it's really hard to say which one would be my top 1. I guess if I had to pick one, I might go with the Legion of Skanks podcast on Gas Digital Network. It's a comedy podcast with these 3 comedians out in New York, and just the way they go back and forth and just make fun of each other. And I mean, they're like one of my favorite comedians, Big J Okerson, is one of the hosts on there. So like I found him through that podcast, and it's just a hilarious podcast. I primarily listen to comedy podcasts, like Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend's the other one that I really like, and he's a lot cleaner than the other one. So that's why it's kind of like depending on where I'm listening to it at, would determine which podcast I'm playing. So those are my primary ones.
Nice. Scott, how about you, sir?
Well, I have to go back to the original podcast that made me want to do podcasting. It's WTF by Mark Maron. So I have, as of late, I haven't been as big of a fan, simply because I'm starting to see how he treats certain guests, and the Seinfeld interview really pissed me off because he was just trying to get stuff out of Jerry that Jerry wasn't going to give, and so I don't give that as much time as I used to. And I'm actually doing a thing where I'm just looking for all these podcasts that are just starting, and I'm looking for independent podcasts that don't have star power. And I'm looking for those, and I'm trying to find those. And I will give any podcast 3 listens before I make a decision on it. And then I'm really stacking those up, because these big names, that's fine. If they want to do a podcast and get all their famous friends on, that's really cool. But I really want to see the people like us that are really passionate about what they do and putting out that content. So that I'm on a journey right now searching for that stuff.
I love your answer, man. I really do.
That was good.
But it's okay. I still love you, bro. My main man up here. You sleeping? No, I'm just playing. What's your favorite?
Who, me?
Yeah, did you already ask? Crime Junkies. I'm tripping. My bad.
I can say it again.
Georgia, you didn't. Oh, it's me. It's my turn, huh?
That's right.
My bad, guys. I got a little confused. I was looking at the time, worried about it. That's them damn things about them videos, man. All I'm with Scott though. I'm gonna be honest. I do not listen to podcasts. Well, it's not that I don't, I just haven't. When I was learning about podcasting, I saw the Joe Rogan experience, but then I learned about Joe Rogan. And I'm not putting him down or anything or, whatever, but the kind of numbers that he has, he won't fit on my podcast. He won't fit into my world of uplifting people. So I'm like, Scott, I'm down to uplift everybody. I want to listen to everybody's. I really asked for all of you guys links so I can go listen to all the links on everything. And yeah, man, I'm more of a not the podcast. I love people. And I love all of you guys just for simply showing up and showing out with me. I would never sit here and tell you guys that I love one of your podcasts more than the other one, because I just like the experience in itself. I don't even like my own podcast that much. I literally, I just want to uplift everybody, Once I get into listening to them, I'm sure I'm going to have one I kind of, merge over to a little more than the other one. But I'm the kind of guy that likes hip hop, but then I like rock, but I love country. So I'm a spontaneous type of person, man. And before we end the show, again, I just want to thank you guys so much for coming on to my podcast show and showing me love and showing everybody else love. Joe Audio, you've been a blast, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Talk to Paco. That was his name, right, Paco?
Yeah. I'll try to get him on maybe next time. He's, like I said, he's a lot more comedic, and he's the show. So definitely he has the more of the personality.
Yeah, man, it doesn't matter, man. I just want to meet him since he was supposed to be here. Maybe we can do an individual show with the two of you guys, or we'll figure it out. Thank him anyways for even attempting. And thank you, man. I definitely appreciate you. I'm going to load all of your links onto the my YouTube post and my Instagram post. Scott, thank you. Be a comedian. I love it. When you sent me that picture, I was like, oh, man, he's inspiring. You just look so like it was natural. You wasn't even trying or anything. I love that about you. And even though you're an older gentleman, man, you can see it. You can hear it in your voice. You can see it in your stance. It's your passion. You're passionate about comedy. And I thank you again for coming on the show. I definitely appreciate you. And Georgia, I'm super proud of you again. Don't be afraid to do videos. You got this, girl. You got this.
Thank you.
And my man, Robert, thank you so much for our long conversations that we do have. Man, you taught me a lot the other day. And thanks again, brother. Hopefully, I look forward to meeting you, man. Hopefully I can come to Canada or something. We can figure it out, brother. And thank all of you once again. I'm going to do my last few, my ending notes, my final thoughts, as Jerry Springer would say. And then, yeah, man. And I'm going to send you guys an individual message, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much. And don't ever forget, guys, be better than yesterday.
One last thing for Georgia.
Thank you, guys. Love you guys so much.
Nice meeting you guys. Nice meeting you.
Georgia, definitely good video. People need to see that smile. That's a gorgeous smile.
Yeah. All right, brother. So again, guys, there it goes. It was a podcast of the week. We're going to try to do this on pretty much bi-weekly, twice a month. I'm not going to say it's going to be every Friday. I have to kind of juggle my schedule and see what my schedule is looking like. But if you're a podcaster, whether you're new or old, thank you so much for even attempting to do it. Don't ever stop, though. Stay consistent. Be consistent. Be better than yesterday. Make sure you try to inspire one person to inspire all. Love yourself. Love your passion. Love what you do. And yeah, happy podcasting, guys.